Have you ever wondered how much malpractice insurance is actually enough? And the honest answer is it depends. For many dentists, the standard limit is a good starting point, but the right amount of coverage depends on your procedures, your location, your claims exposure, and how much one serious claim could actually cost you. So today we're going to break down what malpractice insurance limit means, why 1 million, 3 million is such a common starting point, and when a dentist may need to consider higher limits. If you're interested, stay tuned. Hi, my name is Orrin Pearson, Vice President of Insurance by Dentist and author of the book series Insurance for Dentists. Thank you for joining me today. Let's jump right into today's topic, which is how much malpractice coverage is right for you and your practice. Let's start with the common baseline. For many dentists, especially general dentists, a common starting point for limits is 1 million per claim and 3 million aggregate. Let me quickly break down what those two numbers means if you haven't heard them before. The first number, 1 million, is the amount available for a single claim. So if one lawsuit or malpractice claim is made against you, the policy can pay up to 1 million for that claim, subject to the terms of the policy. The second number, $3 million, is the aggregate limit. That means the total amount available for all covered claims during the policy period, usually 1 year. So with a 1 million slash 3 million policy, you generally have up to 1 million available for one claim and up to 3 million total available across multiple claims during that policy period. Now, why is 1 million slash 3 million so common? And it's because for many dentists, that limit has historically been considered a reasonable starting point for the average malpractice exposure. It is also a very common structure in professional liability insurance generally, and in some states, such as Pennsylvania, that exact limit is actually required for practicing dentists. But here's the important part: common does not always mean correct. Dental malpractice claims are often much smaller than catastrophic medical malpractice claims. One NPDB based source reported nearly 6,600 dental malpractice payouts between 2018 and 2023, with only 79 exceeding 1 million. In one dental close claim study, the median indemnity paid was 50,000 and the average was 116,000. So yes, many paid dental claims fall well below that 1 million limit. But that does not mean every claim does. Severe claims do happen, and the question is not just what is the average. The better question is what could happen in my practice. That is where your specific risk profile matters the most. Next is when you may need more than the baseline. So when might a dentist need to consider more than 1 million, 3 million? The two biggest factors are one, your location, and two, the procedures that you perform. But let's start with location. Some states and venues are more difficult from a malpractice standpoint than others. Over long periods, states like New York, Pennsylvania, Florida, California, and New Jersey have consistently been among the higher dollar malpractice states. But you have to be careful with these rankings because they can change depending on what you are measuring. Are you measuring total payout dollars, number of claims, average payout, dental only claims, and claims per dentist can all tell a slightly different story. The bigger point is this: where your practice matters. A dentist practicing in New York City and a dentist practicing in a rural, low litigation state should not automatically think about malpractice limits the same way. One reason is damage caps. Many states place some kind of cap on non economic damages, which are things like pain and suffering. Other states do not. New York, for example, does not have a general cap on medical malpractice damages. Texas, on the other hand, has a strict cap on non economic damages. California still has MICRA limits on non economic damage, but those limits have increased since 2023 and continue to adjust over time. That matters because the same injury can have a very different potential claim value depending on the state, the venue, and the legal environment. Now let's talk about procedures. Certain procedures, as you know, carry a higher chance of a serious patient outcome. And serious outcomes are what can turn into serious lawsuits. Endodontic procedures, including root canals, consistently show up as a meaningful category in dental malpractice claims, with some studies placing them in the mid teens as a share of dental claims. Extractions, implant procedures, oral surgery, and procedures involving sedation or anesthesia also deserve special attention. In closed claim studies, extractions and implant related procedures have been among the most likely to result in indemnity payments and among the categories with higher average payments. Wrong tooth procedures are another serious patient safety issue. They may not be one of the largest claim categories by percentage, but when they happen, they are highly preventable and can quickly become a malpractice claim or a board complaint. The common thread with many high severity dental claims is permanent injury. One example is nerve injury. A lingual nerve or anterior alveolar nerve injury can lead to long term or permanent numbness, altered sensation, pain, or loss of function. When an injury is permanent, the value of the claim can increase significantly. So ask yourself this question: am I placing implants? Am I doing surgical extractions? Am I performing endodontic work? Am I sedating patients? Am I doing oral surgery or procedures where nerve injury is a known risk? If the answer is yes, your risk profile may be higher than the average general dentist, and your malpractice limits should be reviewed with that in mind. Next, what does higher limits look like? So, if a dentist does need more than the baseline, what does this usually look like? There's not one magic number that everybody uses. It depends on the carrier and the state. Higher limits may look like 2 million, 4 million, 2 million, 5 million, or 2 million, 6 million, or another structure entirely different. The main thing to look at is the per claim limit. Why? Because the per claim limit is what protects you from one serious claim. For example, let's say a claim resolves for 1.5 million. If your per claim limit is 1 million, the policy pays up to that 1 million limit and the remaining 500,000 could become your responsibility depending on the facts of the claim and the policy terms. That is the kind of scenario higher limits are designed to protect against. For many general dentists and orthodontists, 1 million, 3 million may still be a reasonable starting point, but dentists doing more invasive work, especially oral surgeons, implant heavy practices, sedation practices, and dentists in higher risk venues, should at least consider whether a higher per claim limit makes sense to them. The goal is not to buy the highest number just because it's available. The goal is to match your coverage to your risk profile. Next is, how can you think about your own limit? So, how should you think about your own malpractice limit? I would ask a few simple questions. First, what does your state require? That's a good starting point. Some states have specific requirements, others do not. So, you need to know whether your state or your employment contract requires a certain limit. Second, what procedures do you perform? If you're doing a bread and butter general dentistry, your exposure may look different from someone doing implants, surgical extractions, sedation, or oral surgery. Third, where do you practice? Your state and your local venue matter, as we have talked about. A claim in one state may not have the same value as a similar claim in another state. Fourth, what would happen if one claim exceeded your limit? That is the real question, not just what is the average claim, but could one severe claim create personal financial exposure for me? And then finally, what does your carrier actually offer? Not every carrier is going to offer the same limit options. Some may offer 2 million per claim, some may structure the aggregate differently. Some may have different rules by state or specialty. So, this is something you want reviewed, not guessed. And your agent can typically help you with that. And that is going to wrap up today's video. Before I go, I want to leave you with this. For many dentists, 1 million, 3 million is a common and a very reasonable starting point, but it should not be treated like a one size fits all answer. Your malpractice limit should reflect your procedures, your location, your specialty, your claims history, your contract requirements, and the real risk of one serious claim. That is why it's so important to work with an agent who understands dentistry. Someone should be asking what you actually do in the operatory, whether you place implants, whether you sedate patients, whether you perform surgical extractions, where you practice, and whether your current limits match your risk exposure. If an agent simply quotes the standard limit without asking those questions, you may not be getting the full risk review you deserve. Insurance by Dentist is an insurance and risk management firm that specializes in dentistry. If you ever have any questions about malpractice limits or want someone to review your coverage, our contact information is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.